Welcome, golfers, to the next episode of the Read It, Roll It, Hole It podcast. Today, we've got a really cool guy on the call, Zach Gould. Welcome, Zach.
Thanks, Ollie. I don't know if I've been described as cool before, but I'll definitely take it.
Come on, you're one of the coolest guys in Wales. You can't give me that.
Thanks.
So, for the listeners, you are Mr. Dr. Golf. Is that what you call yourself?
Well, I'm not sure, but someone actually drove past me in the car the other day and shouted out the window, Dr. Golf. So it might be sticking that title.
Brilliant.
But
So
yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Dr. Golf is your brand, and I think you've been Dr. Golf for 3 years now, and we go back a long way, Zach, from the Welsh days. We were in the under-16s Welsh squad together, and I think we'll probably start there. Really, I'd like to sort of to hear about your journey as a kid. Really, my memory of that was turning up at Kelton Manor. I've told you this story before, and I know you don't really like it, which I might go into, but in a good way. But yeah, so we were 15-year-olds, turned up at Celtic, and I was a good golfer, 3 handicap. I thought I was good, and we turned up, and you were there, a few others, but you mainly, +4, and you had it on a piece of string, and it was just incredible to watch. How were you so good so early?
I suppose just to give, I suppose people who don't know me, a whistle-stop tour of my career to date, really. And I suppose there's a bit of method to my madness. But, I started golf at the age of 6, very introverted as a character. I still see myself as an introverted person, even though, I do a bit on social media and, I've had experience lecturing at I suppose, top institutions as well, but I do see my character as an introverted person. That's why I think I attracted myself to golf while my friends were, playing football, rugby, and so on. It was just a sport you could go play on your own, get absorbed in the process, if you like. And I pretty much got hooked on it since day one. So started at the age of 6, fortunate, enough to play for my country, Wales and county level and stuff like that. Started to work my way up, fortunate enough to play for Great Britain in the Jack Lees World Cup squad member on a number of occasions, didn't get in a team. Played in a Junior Ryder Cup around the era of McIlroy and Ollie Fisher and Danny Willett and all of those. So that'll give away my age a little bit.
Getting old, aren't you? Definitely.
It's catching up with me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then kind of, I suppose, went all the way to the top level of the amateur game, never turned professional. Left school at 16 to 18. I left school at 16 to pursue a career in golf. I went all the way up to 20, and there's some really key messages between the ages of 16 and 18, which I'm sure we'll get into. But, didn't quite work out at the age of 20. So I actually found myself then, went back to school to do my A-levels. Obviously, I left school at 16. Because I needed to take a bit of a break from golf. Whilst I was, I suppose, competing and playing to a fairly high level as an amateur, was always interested and passionate about training. Because I suppose it is one of those areas of the game where if you do put a lot of effort in, you do get a return. And there's other elements of the game. You can practice all day, and sometimes it doesn't translate to what you're doing on the course, which again might be another topic for conversation. But really, got hooked with strength and conditioning and really wanted to understand it in more detail. I just embarked on a career in strength and conditioning from there. And fortunate enough to go all the way to complete a PhD in strength and conditioning is beyond any of my wildest, I suppose, imaginations as a youngster, because and I still feel this, my whole DNA as a golfer. I feel like I'm on the journey with, the 60, 70-year-olds that are using our application and working with us through to the 12, 13-year-olds who've got an aspiring career in golf. I still feel I'm a golfer, even though I've achieved these other things. But it's all from passion. Do you know what I mean? I want to know more answers. I want to find out better solutions for our players. And I just, really worked hard at finding those answers. I never wanted to get to, I suppose, work with some of the best players in the world and develop what we've developed based on my golf career, which sounds bizarre. That's why I've, put so much effort into it. And then we formed a company of Dr. Golf Global in 2018, and we'd be going now for the best part of 3 and a bit years. So that's a whistle-stop tour, very scratching the surface of my career. There's loads of small stories and messages within what I've done, what I've failed at, what I've been successful at, and sharing them with our community at this stage.
Lovely. Definitely would like to go back to that sort of 16-year-old age, and I think you're quite humble in your sort of saying, oh, yeah, I played for Wales. Like the level you were at was quite incredible, and I think you beat Tony Finau. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so I suppose I was selected for Wales first as, I suppose, an under 13-year-old golfer. I played in the boys' home internationals 5 years in a row. And I suppose, arguably, Wales is the nation, especially at the boys' home internationals, where you could argue, on paper, they might be the weaker side. Hopefully a deficit is starting to come through. But I was selected and I was actually unbeaten. No one ever beat me in a singles match. Wow. So over the 5 years, obviously there's 3 singles matches each year against England, Scotland and Ireland. I was undefeated. So I was still, I suppose, playing to that level as such a young golfer. I pretty much remember when I first played for Wales, I then went down and won the Reed Trophy, which is obviously the English under 14s. And I suppose 2 years later, I was in a senior international side. So, yes, I was selected at a young age where I was, I suppose, punching above my weight. As you know, I was very small as a golfer. I would classify myself as a late developer physically. But, I had so much determination and passion. I think it just came through, especially in our match play format, So I was definitely playing to that level at a young age.
How did you manage with the expectations, Zach? I remember people talking, Zach Gould, he's the next best thing, it's like, Oscar Sharp with labels similar, yourself, or, Ollie Fisher or Rory McIlroy. We've all heard of Rory McIlroy. How did you manage with that expectations? And did you have Nike knocking on the door trying to sign you for deals? I know Carly Booth had, I think, at that age, but tell us, how did you deal with that?
So I suppose the biggest challenge, and to be honest, it still lives with me now. The biggest challenge I have, and I'm sure lots of people say these types of things, is the expectation I put on myself, my standards. And Guy talks to me a lot about this currently. My standards are so high, and I think because of that, I set the bar so high for myself. I probably, overworked at times. I got carried away on the wrong things, especially on a technical route, because it was never through lack of effort. And still to this day, I'm putting 12 to 14-hour shifts in, and people might not believe that, but ask my wife, ask my family. I'm so passionate, and I got such high expectations for myself and my future, even now. I think it was more the expectation I put on myself rather than the expectation that others put on me, because yes, they were, I suppose, lining me up to be, one of the next best players in the world. But I really wanted, and I suppose expected that myself, which probably it negatively affected some of the decisions I made and the journey I went on at a young age. So they're, I suppose, the biggest challenges, and still the challenge I still face today.
Interesting. Where does that inner determination come from, Zach? I think we all say we want to be world number one, but what you're saying is you actually expected to sort of be, the greatest god. Where did, going back to a young kid, from parents, where did that inner drive come from? It's quite sort of rare to hear.
Yeah, no, I suppose it's, it does come back to, are you born with it? Is it an environment that's being created? And there's loads of, potential scenarios, but and this is being very transparent. I remember being a kid I remember in sports day in primary school, and I've always, I suppose, been quite athletic. I've always been a fast runner. I've always been good at other sports as well. And I remember being a very young age, and I lost my first race. I remember winning all the races in school, and then you get put through to Cardiff district finals down in Leckwith, which was the old stadium back in the day. And I remember losing. It was the first time I've ever experienced losing. And I pretty much went in the corner and started crying because I just couldn't accept that side of things. So I think it's been in me from a very young age just to have, obviously I've managed this, so I don't go and cry in the corner at a later life. But it's really in me to, it's competition, which I think is healthy now. I see as a healthy thing to have because it strives me to kick on. So it's something from a very young age I always remember having that sort of inner competition, ultimately to be the best you can be in golf. Because if you compare yourself every single time you play, you'll constantly be disappointed because you fail so much in golf. But and it's always been that battle of me versus me. I always remember that from a very young age.
Is that what essentially ended your playing career, was not being able to deal with that expectation?
I think, I suppose just to give you a little bit of insight, I remember, which sounds bizarre really, I probably had my best year as an amateur golfer in 2004. And I was 15 turning 16, which is absolutely bonkers to think. How can your best year as a golfer be when you're 15 years of age? And I got to a +4 handicap. I won the Gold Cross, which is obviously a big tournament here in Wales. I won the European Young Masters, which is all the best players in Europe. McIlroy was in that. All the best players in Europe come together. That was in Augsburg. That was in Meerhof in Austria. And I won the Duke of York Champion of Champions. That was the same year. Played for Jack McGee's, Great Britain Ireland, and played in the Junior Ryder Cup, where, as you mentioned, I was successful against Tony Finau. So that was kind of my best year to date. I remember then, obviously, that was the year I completed my GCSEs. I left school. And I think a little bit of guidance and infrastructure around me at the time was probably an area that I lacked. I went from 5'4". I remember there's a picture with myself and my mum in 2004 in Ireland, and I got my arm around them. We're the same height. Literally, by the time I got to 18, I was 6 foot. So I went through huge growth spurts during those that period, and I didn't put enough work in to the development side of my game. Meaning, I remember then flying off to Australia, played in the Lake Macquarie Amateur, the Belmont, New South Wales Amateur, then went down to the South African Amateur, went over to New Zealand, and I pretty much played a full schedule then. But I was 16 years of age, and fast forward in 2 years. I remember having this conversation with Nigel Edwards, sat me down. All my peers had kicked on. So at 18 then, McIlroy went straight on a European tour. Danny Willett went out to the US. Ollie Fisher went straight on a European tour. All my peers had kicked on, and I plateaued massively. I was still, fairly successful in the amateur ranks, but nowhere near good enough to go on the European tour. I remember looking at myself. I'd regressed technically. I had huge expectation on myself and pressure, because obviously I was in ways comparing myself to them. And I had to press the reset button. I then put a team of coaches around me, got some, I suppose, good information coming in, and then 360 the other way, and put so much time and effort into the technical development. I probably put too much emphasis on that side and not enough on playing the game. And that's what I would say I'd experienced burnout over that 2-year period, where I was trying to compete a lot. I was trying to make massive swing changes. I was working with a mindset coach. I then started training a lot more than I would have in previous to that. There was too much change at one time, and I think in the wrong areas. So going back, if I was pressing the reset button, and I don't regret this, and I got no, I don't particularly want to go back, but if I was, I'd have a conversation with myself at 16 saying, look, as good as it is now, if you don't get that right team and right approach around you, you'll lose it. And that's the same conversation with any young golfer. It could be absolutely fantastic now, but if you don't maintain and really put your effort into the right areas, then you might come unstuck. And, I don't want to have that same conversation I have with young players that work with us. So I'm very transparent with what I've done and my lessons, and hopefully they can take some motivation and actions from it to make sure they don't make some of those mistakes as well.
Really interesting, Zach. I remember seeing you, funny enough, a couple of years after that, and I don't know if I've said this to you, but it was out in Cardiff after an international match, and it was, I don't know, 2, 3, who knows what time it is, in the middle of the morning, and not recognizing you because how big you'd got. Not just that you'd grown, but you were the biggest bodybuilder bloke I've ever seen in my life. Did you sort of, was that your new drug, your new, do you know what I mean? new
Yeah,
drive.
absolutely. Like it's one of them. And to be honest, I've seen this a lot with some golfers who haven't made it. And like Oscar Sharp has done something, I suppose, similar really, where
Yeah.
he's gone into fitness and that side because, golfers, excuse my expression, but we're all weirdos. We all love, the same thing. We love repetition. We like doing the same thing. We like getting into habits and routines and obviously hitting lots of golf balls. And we're a bit mad, really. We're trying to, do the same thing in every single shot. So we've all got that side to us. And I think if you apply that to training, that's a really successful recipe. If you're, really hardworking, you like repetition, you love consistency, you love, the accountability and the drive, you apply that to training, then you will, I suppose, in that instance, put on muscle mass. So I think, and sometimes this is some of the things we've got to manage with the golfers. They do gravitate to this side of the game quite a lot because when they get into it and they start seeing success and results, you do, I suppose, get a little bit more addicted to it. But yeah, definitely, that's why I put a lot of my energy into the training side and into the education. I worked so hard on the education side. That's what I did pretty much for 2 to 3 years. Well, that's what I've done ever since, to be honest, since that sort of reset. But yeah, trained hard and studied hard.
At what point did you grieve? Do you know what I mean by that? Like, at what point did you, realize that you weren't going to be a golfer and accept that? And how did you manage that sort of? That must have come at some time when you did cry in the corner again and have the down
Definitely.
days.
And it was, I suppose, that time, and I'll never forget it. The time where I suppose there's a couple of things really. There's the moment where I let go and I realized I'm not going to be the pro golfer, which wasn't that long ago, by the way. And it's the time when I realized I had to take a break. And there's I suppose, a mentor in my life who's been, highly influential and still is highly influential in my career. He's in his 70s now, highly successful businessman. I never forget, it was a Friday afternoon when I went up, spoke to him, and I said, I need to take a bit of a break from golf. And like I suppose I explained, not a natural academic. I remember sitting in his house on a Friday afternoon. He said, look, go back to school, get an education. I remember thinking to myself, I didn't think I had the ability initially. I remember going home telling my mum, probably she would admit now that I didn't think, she probably didn't think I had that type of ability as well. But I kid you not, on the Monday morning, I was back in my old high school. I mean, 21 years of it. I just about turned 21. Back in class with 16-year-olds who are now still my friends today. But obviously, I was a huge moment really where I had to swallow my pride and suck it up and go back and get an education. But there was times around that period where it was really tough. Do you know what I mean? Telling people I need to take a break. Close family, close friends, people I looked up to, like this particular mentor that I mentioned. It's a big moment that you've got to swallow. So that was really tough. And I remember locking myself in my bedroom for 2 weeks prior to that because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me, actually said, come up the house, let's have a conversation. And from there, I haven't looked back really, but I think in the back of my mind, I was always like, I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to go back to golf. I'm going to go back to golf.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I'm supposed to be very honest, I didn't fully let go until Dr. Golf in 2018. So that's a long time, to hold on. And as you know, Guy's been a massive influence in helping me understand that and really giving me identity with what we're doing now.
That's good. So you have let go now. You don't see yourself going on the seniors tour in a few more years now.
No.
You could be the next, not Gary, what's his name? Gary Oosterner. What's his name? Oosterner.
Gary Wilson, no?
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Welsh version of that. No,
not at this stage.
No, definitely not. I think there's what you're doing is absolutely amazing, and like I look forward to finding more about Dr. Golf. But I just wanted to share with you that that thank you for being so honest there, and it's an absolute sort of pleasure and a joy for me to to speak to you and to what am I trying to say? Just like, really admire. It's really great to see you do so well as a friend. Do you know what I mean? That's really good to see. So
thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
So fast forward to Dr. Golf. When you started, now you might have answered why Dr. Golf, but I wanted to ask sort of why did you start Dr. Golf with Guy you've gone into business with? And why is what's the sort of important message here? What are we trying to help people with?
So I suppose, I suppose a couple of parts of this really. Dr. Golf was formed in 2018 with myself and business partner Guy Last. Over a few glasses of wine, we were having a conversation just about loads really. Back to some of the conversations we just had from youth sport. Guy's got a very, very interesting background, I suppose similar to mine, but in football. Represented his country for representing Wales and the 19s football. Similar sort of experience, really. But so there's obviously a natural interest, and we had natural chemistry on that side. But I suppose, I just finished my PhD. I recognise at that point I'd built up a really good, I suppose, face-to-face career in terms of some coaching work with some great players, coaching the national team. I was then starting to get further reach from more club golfers, counties, organisations, maybe starting to look, to implement more structure and strategies towards what they were doing. And one of the things I suppose I struggle with as a face-to-face practitioner in that way is pretty much everyone we work with and continue to work with, they're in front of us because they want to improve their golf in some way. Whether that's improving their performance to be the next Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, or whether you're a 60 years of age golfer and wants to play for longer, you want to improve, your longevity or your performance in some way. And what I was, I suppose, quickly recognizing is, and I did experience this a lot face to face, is you could do a fantastic session within that 1 hour, but in a training plan, you might have 12, anywhere between 15 to 30 exercises when it comes from warm-ups through to main session, through to cool down to specific exercises. And what I was recognizing was, because I suppose they were coming to me with very minimal experience, yes, you'd have a great hour, but how do we support those golfers when they're on their own? And also linking to that, how do we support golfers in remote areas, yes, in the UK and also further afield, who possibly can't get access to some really good quality training based on where they live? They might not be able to get access to, a personal trainer or a strength and conditioning coach at all, let alone getting access to one that's, related to golf. And lastly, one that's affordable. Because, if you're going to see a trainer 3-4 times a week, that's going to be expensive. So what we've, I suppose, created is a platform where golfers of all ages, abilities can have some really good quality coaching at affordable cost. We can support them when we're not with them, so they can do 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions a week. They've got it all accessible on their phone. We see as an educational platform for the way we deliver our exercises, and we can deliver really top-end service to golfers at both ends of the spectrum. But obviously it comes with, I suppose, a commercial business understanding, from everything setup through to marketing, through to getting the right structures in place. And that's what Guy specializes in ultimately. So anything commercially related is where Guy Last comes in, and anything sort of product and service related is where myself come in. So it is a match made in heaven, because I suppose our strengths and weaknesses complement each other. But I suppose linking to that, we're just such good friends, and our relationship outside of it, it just works in perfect synergy. We challenge each other a lot in a healthy way, but it works, and it's allowed us to create what we've created to date. And obviously we got huge ambition to continue to grow what we do.
Brilliant. It's good to hear. Your wife's happy with this relationship, is she? Sounds like you two are in love more than... No, I'm joking.
Well, actually, my wife introduced me to Guy. So if she's not happy with it, she's to blame.
Yeah, happy days. That's good to hear, Zach. And can we go down... You talk about the two pathways there. So the performance, for the kids coming through, and then you've got the slightly older, potentially people who just sort of, don't want to get injured. Talk us through the sort of benefits and that journey, if you will.
Yeah. So I suppose, again, just give you a bit of background of what we're, I suppose, currently doing. We're now rebranded as the Online Health Club for Golf. And the way in which I want everyone to visualize it, imagine you walk into a health club, what's available to you? Do you mean you've got exercise classes ranging everything from yoga, mobility, circuits, We got nutrition support. We also deliver one-to-one programs for anybody who wants, that personal training type approach, something a little bit more bespoke and specific. And we also certify coaches. So we've certified golf coaches, certified personal trainers to become more golf specific. So anybody who don't know about us, that's how I want you to visualize it. If you were to walk into a physical premises, we're the same, but online. Our whole, I suppose, I don't want to say strategy, but our whole approach to date, we started with working with performance golfers, naturally my background and kind of where we were currently at. So we've been fortunate enough to work with national governing bodies. We've got, which I won't give away, we've got a new national governing body coming on this month, which we're really excited to release. We work with counties in the UK. We work with universities in the UK and the US. And then individual golfers. That was what we call our performance arm. And that's where we deliver bespoke bespoke training, delivering individual training plans, everything from pre-round warm-ups, home or gym, depending on what they got access to and where they train, daily drills that complement some of the things they're doing technically, some post-round routines. We service them with feedback. We check in with them to hold them accountable. We provide data, feedback with them in order to enhance performance is kind of that arm of what we do. Over the past 12 months, we've, I don't want to say shifted because it was always the intention. We're expanding into making that support more accessible for club golfers. And as we know, club golfers range anything from juniors up to senior golfers. 60% of golfers are over the age of 60. So there's a huge demographic on that age population. And we've got golfers in their 80s using our application, coming on to the mobile, finding our classes, using our services. So there's very minimal restrictions now, I think, post-COVID in terms of accessing online support. But I suppose their motivations would be more around reducing the risk of injury and increasing longevity.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's when you get closer to retirement. Some people are retired, and that's where I suppose your passion and your hobby is where you want to take advantage of things most. And I'm literally not joking. We speak to hundreds of golfers a month, if not, less a time than that. We're all experiencing pain somewhere, whether it's lower back, shoulder, wrist, hips. And we know through really good quality training and consistent training, we can prolong those injuries and reduce the risk over time and keep them playing the game for longer, keep them, doing something they're passionate about. So on that side, we provide training support for senior golfers, middle-aged golfers. We got yoga and mobility, which is suitable for all golfers, but it tends to gravitate towards more like female golfers, which is great because we want to grow the lady side of the game as well, all the way down to youth golfers. So we got training programs for under and over 12s. And the way in which I describe that is, I suppose I can mention this. We have to be described this once. It's like the Peloton for golf, if you like. You go on, you subscribe, you click play, and you copy one of our instructors to do one of our classes. If you want more, you come onto the performance arm and you start doing more bespoke side. Although we got lots of club golfers on that, that's where we're getting a little bit more bespoke and specific in what we do then.
Love it. That's good. The injury side, I think, is something that you can really help golfers with, isn't it? Have you got a stat of, I don't know, what percentage of golfers are injured or get injured a year? I don't know.
Yeah, so I suppose, and this is all inside our certification. We got a whole injury module within the certification, and I suppose that is an arm of like physiotherapy and those types of things. But I see training and strength and conditioning coaches, personal trainers is a huge responsibility to reduce that risk. You never prevent because there's loads of factors that might lead to a potential injury. But I suppose just to give you some data, I've looked at some research, I looked at injuries in the US over a 20-year period, and there's around 600, this skews a number, but there's around 666,000 injuries over that period where people, I suppose, that were diagnosed, went to see a clinician, whether that was hospital, physiotherapist, or whatever that might be. And 30% of those injuries were in the lower back. And the age demographic that were most susceptible to injury were over the age of 55. Right. So, for senior golfers and, senior golfers that listen to this, it might not be, new news, but there's some really strong evidence that as you get older, your risk of injury increases, and the location of injury that's most likely is going to be the lower back. But we know through really good quality training, starting at the basics, making sure your pelvis and your posture is all in a nice neutral position, making sure you've got enough range of movement so you're not compensating, whether that's in your golf swing, whether that's in your daily tasks, putting your socks on, lifting up for things, and then just getting some good quality, strength-based work in. If you start ticking off these things, you are going to prolong your career, do you know what I mean, when it comes to playing the game. So I'm really passionate about that side, because I know there's so much benefit that lots of golfers are missing out on. As it happens, I know this is your old club, but I was speaking to a member of Ross on Y, I won't give his name away. We were having the exact same conversation this week, just turned 55, wants to get into the England senior team, been struggling with niggles in his back. He literally come on to one of our, I suppose, arm's length programs, 2 weeks. He was like, I literally feel immediately a different person, both mentally and physically. He goes, I want more. I want to come on more bespoke support. Now he's on into an individual plan. Because I suppose you don't know what you're missing out on until you do it. Ignorance is bliss in that way. And as soon as you get some good habits and routines, you're like, oh my God, I should have been doing this 20 years ago. But sometimes it just takes that moment for people to realize. It's usually motivated by pain when people experience pain. But I suppose what we're trying to do through education and channels and communication to prevent it before it happens is the aim of the game,
Yeah, sure. Have you got some nice drills that the listeners could take away, Zach, and without spilling all the beans? But I'm sure you won't be able to recite all of the app to us in the next 10 minutes. But have you got some of the key, daily drills that can help pretty much everyone? Yeah, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 drills they could do every day that's going to improve their life.
Yeah, I suppose, and obviously it's always going to be difficult to explain them in this setting. Inside our application, we've got over 1,500 classes, anything from 5-minute warm-ups through to 60-minute classes. So you can see the volume. That's the last 12 months, dare I say it, has been a really, really big effort from myself and the team to capture that amount of information. We've literally been non-stop for 12 months to build that database. And we've got over then 300 exercise explainer videos. So the volume of what we got is incredible. And, I suppose backing ourselves slightly, the way in which it's delivered is really good in terms of, I see it as an education. It's not a case of a video of someone doing an exercise and a voiceover, just explaining some of the key points. We introduce why it's useful, what the benefits are to golf, how it potentially could help some of the golf swing side of things, how it's going to help reduce some of the risk of injury, what the key points are, what the common errors are. So it's very educational in itself. So there's that side for anyone really interested. There's things I always sort of swear to, and I suppose some of my philosophies without getting too deep down the S&C side of things. I always like to start from, can someone find an axis? Can they find, a good position to start from, whether that's good posture in setup, in life, wherever that might be. So I think that sets a framework. Then can they maintain that as they move? So what do the compensations look like? Why do those compensations occur? Is there lack of mobility? Is there lack of control? Is there lack of, the posh word, neuromuscular coordination? So how well they can coordinate some of these movements, like an awareness type thing. Or is it potentially, and the third thing, can they then do that at speed? So that's where I was work back. Without giving, specific exercises away, anybody who's interested, we've got 14 days free on our website, and come on, subscribe for 14 days, access all of our classes. You have access to myself or one of our coaches, ask us questions, and we can signpost you to relevant exercises to you, because as you can appreciate, there could be 1,000,001 different answers. You know what I mean? But that's the way in which I suppose my mind works when framing and shaping training programs for golfers. Find the axis. Can you maintain it as you move? Can you do it at speed? If not, why not? And then work back.
Like it. So applying that process to putting. So
I'm waiting for this one.
let's try and link that to putting. So we need to stand well, we need to be in balance, and we need to coordinate the right body parts during the putting stroke. What is good posture for putting?
So where you hold the most putts. It is going to be an interesting question, and I suppose some of lots of things we've talked about. The force application in the swing, the biomechanical underpinnings of movement within the golf swing, and some of the strategies that I'm going to, I suppose, put forward as an S&C coach are going to be suited more towards full shots. But I suppose there's things like what you say. If we can be nice and centered in pressure, and we can hold that position consistently, then it is going to give you a better chance. There is a research paper actually has looked at the relationship between strength in S&C perspective and putting, and I can't remember what outcome they measured when it comes to putting, but the conclusion was stronger golfers do have some sort of higher chance of putting well. Whatever that metric was, I'll have to have a look into a little bit more detail. But for me, if you can hold that posture and you're, I suppose, in a comfortable position, that has to, I suppose, intuitively give you a better position to start from when it comes to putting. But I'm not going to stand here and say, you have to have this perfect posture to be a great putter. You need to have all these, physical underpinnings to be a great putter, because it's a very much, closed skill, fine motor control type movement. Whereas lots of things, I suppose, on an S&C perspective, might be on the opposite end of that spectrum. But I don't see how it hurt by standing in, good posture and getting a little bit physically better. I think that's going to link to potentially, improving some of the metrics you're going to be looking at, really.
Okay, so on break, let's go into a little bit breaking down, right? So I understand, as you're clearly saying there, is that there's no right or wrong way. But as a rule of thumb, would I be right to say a wider stance is going to be more stable than a narrow stance?
Again, yeah, potentially. Again, from my perspective, I'm thinking then of like your gross type movements. Do you know what I mean? Anytime you want to produce a lot of force, do you know what I mean? Getting if it comes on extremes. Imagine your feet were tight together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Versus your feet being really wide. There's going to be a middle ground. Do you know what I mean? Where you're going to be most efficient to producing force. For me, especially when it comes to the putting side of things, it's got to be the width of your stance where you're going to be able to be most, create the most repetition more than anything. Because what I don't want to do is, I suppose, send a false message.
Yeah, no, I got you.
It's going to be, everything's going to be a case of one when it comes to this.
Okay. I guess they need to be in a posture where I think a lot of people struggle to practice putting a lot because that position can not be comfortable, right? For that lower back, especially. So finding a posture that you can practice for more than 1 minute at a time is probably a good start.
Potentially, it does come down to an endurance type thing then, because I've been there myself. If you're in that hinge position, especially, lots of young golfers get into these sort of things and are hitting putt after putt after putt after putt, you are then going to start to experience some sort of, over time aggravation around the lower back. And that's going to come down to an endurance type thing. But arguably, you hinge, so you're only going to be, I suppose, holding your own body weight. There's no additional forces. So again, I wouldn't see it as something that you're putting yourself at huge risk of.
Okay.
But like you say, it is going to aggravate it over time. But then I'd be, I suppose, encouraging golfers to start going through the processes a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Like you would on a golf course, going through your pre-shot routine, going through those processes. And moving, in and out it's going to reduce that. So yes, by building up your strength and your tolerance, you're probably going to then start improving some of your endurance to hold that position. But I'd be asking the question, if you're bent over hitting putt after putt after putt for 10, 20 minutes, is that a right practice approach to be having?
For sure. Definitely not. On, I'll have to get the wording right here, so you might have to correct me, but is it anterior and posterior when in the spine? So when you stick your arse out, is that anterior?
So I suppose the best way to describe it, an anterior pelvic tilt is where your belt buckle would then face towards the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where you're arching your back, basically. So you'd have that kind of S-like shape.
Yeah.
And then a posterior pelvic tilt is where your belt buckle would start to face more towards the ceiling, and you'd have that C-type posture. So you'd be a little bit more rounded.
Okay.
For me, again, it's trying to keep that neutral. If you're a little bit anterior, a little bit posterior, you're going to be fine. Do you know what I mean? It's when we start looking at extremes.
Yeah.
That's where we need to be mindful.
I think, I guess the reason for the question is, I guess a lot of people get into that S posture because they think they should get their back straight. And why I see that hurts golfers putting, it causes that thoracic spine to be quite upright and then quite disconnected from the body, from the arms and the putter. Would that be fair?
Yeah, definitely. You go and speak to anyone, find good posture. Everybody goes into thoracic extension or hyperextension, where they puff their chest out and they arch their back too much. And then they go into that duck butt position, do you know what I mean? Where they go into an anterior pelvic tilt and they're very arched in that lower back.
Yeah.
You go and then, touch the lower back. All the erectors, do you know what I mean? All the muscles supporting the spine are going to go into activation. If you hold in that position for a long time, then you are going to start to feel aggravation. Obviously, through good quality training, keeping your posture nice and neutral, do you know what I mean? All the muscles, erector spinae, multifidus, all the ones supporting the spine, hopefully sharing the load. So it is going to potentially, keep the spine in a bit of a safer position. But I suppose there's going to be a lot of misunderstandings between when people start to say, find good posture, everyone does extension. And I see this a lot, I suppose, going back to the full swing. People go into this extension, and then because they're so extended, they do find it difficult to rotate, both in the shoulder, do you know what I mean, and in the spine. And then all of a sudden they have half a backswing, or they start compensating somewhere else. And there's always a spectrum on these conversations, because there's no such thing as perfect posture. And there's, I suppose, going to be a spectrum where, can you, I suppose, hold something that's in a safe position and still achieve the task without compensating? That is then going to be your optimum, because there's always going to be deviations, always. Do you know what I mean? Because we've seen people with terrible postures and great golf swings. It's not the be all and end all. But what I always say to golfer, let's move to a range where it gives us the best chance.
Okay.
And whether that's lifting, swinging a club, doing your daily tasks. And it's one of those, I suppose, it's a topic that can be controversial, because you can argue it both ways, Luck.
Of course you can, yeah. It's hard to quantify, isn't it?
Really, it's very subjective, I suppose, where I'm going.
So if people listening, the S posture, the C posture, I remember doing the first day of lockdown, Dr. Golf live on YouTube, and I thought I was going to join in for a few sessions with my daughter. And
you've done a few. I remember you doing a few.
Yeah, I definitely did, probably a week, maybe two. And then, it was too early after how much wine I had the night before. But the 3-point posture, that's got to be a golden oldie that you can give everyone to do, surely. Is that?
It's a start, yeah. It's a good start point for me. So 3-point posture check, anyone is not aware of it. I always go up against a wall with it to give you some sort of external feedback as to know where you are. Your head's got to be in contact with the wall. Your rib cage is soft gap in the lower back to maintain that natural lumbar curve. Glutes flush to the wall. Lots of people struggle with it because their head might be in a poor position, or they might, then start to extend to get their head back, and they're not quite, I suppose, achieving those points of contact. The fourth bit then is to make sure you're relaxed in that position. And for me, that's a good start point then, because then when we start trying to hinge into golf setup, if we can find a neutral posture when standing, then it's going to, I suppose, start us in the right position. The next challenge then is, can you move and maintain posture? The last bit, can you do it in your golf swing? So I like to start there because it translates quite well to golf. Lots of exercises are almost trying to get, that spinal alignment as neutral as possible, whether it's squatting, deadlifting, RDL, whatever type of exercises in the gym. I'm always trying to work, I suppose, that client or that person back to a neutral, if it exists, position. So I just like it as a start point. Because then if I say, just neutralize your spine a little bit, they've always got that reference point then to the 3-point posture check. Okay. Do you know what I mean? So within a lot of things we do, that is a strong emphasis embedded in what it is. Someone else might say that's just good technique, Zach.
Yeah.
But it's words, do you know what I mean? It's interpretation, and I think it translates quite well to clients and particularly golfers, you know.
No, I'd agree. It's a nice visual. Okay, so just to sort of finish up then, Zach, can you I think the sort of key message that we're sort of saying today is that golf fitness is for everyone, or for all level of golfers. I think that is a change in mindset for a lot of us. 20 years ago, people were saying, "Oh, Tiger's going to the gym and he's hurting his golf and it's bad for golf," which it might have been, by the way, because he was doing Navy SEAL shit, I think, wasn't he? But anyway, so like, this is to make everyone, every level of golfer, they can have a happier life, healthier life, healthy body, healthy mind. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, I suppose just to break into two parts. I think if you've got any aspirations to be, a top tournament professional, one of the best golfers in the world, or have a career in golf, if you're not training, for golf, when it comes to like strength and conditioning type training for golf, you are definitely at a disadvantage. There's no denying the large majority, if not all, of the top 100 players in the world are doing something now. And they're very transparent. They're documenting it on YouTube. They're putting it on social media. You can see what they're doing. I just recently shared a post of Rory McIlroy. He's obviously massively into it, but the large majority, if not all, are doing something. And we know if you get stronger, do better quality training, we're increasing force production, we're increasing swing speed, we're reducing the risk of injury. We're going to make you more durable to, and more repetitive in what you do. So if you're a young golfer and wants to have a career in golf and you're not training, you're at a disadvantage now, because the 15, 16-year-olds coming through are all doing it. It's been a huge culture shift since I started, definitely. And then flipping it on its head, even just, I suppose, talking about the lifestyle side of things, if you're a human being listening to the call and you want to, we start improving the way in which we eat. We start just moving a little bit more, whether that's some mobility, whether that's some yoga, whether that's some gym-based stuff, whether that's some circuits type stuff. That is going to significantly start improving the way you feel. Do you know what I mean? Potentially improving the way you look, depending on the nutrition side of things. And overall, just, I suppose, improve your well-being. I've set myself a challenge this month, and I've had a real notice in terms of the way I've been just feeling mood-wise. 12 sessions, so 3 sessions a week. I've been documenting it inside the app. I've been sharing it on social media, eating well as well. I honestly can't believe, and it might sound daft, how much of an impact it's actually had on my mindset, as opposed to my, the physical outputs and the metrics. I feel just like a totally different person. You might say it's mad, Zach, you're a trainer, these things, but ignorance is bliss. When you actually do it, when you have a break from it and then you come back to it, you start to really notice the impact that it has on you mentally. And purely my shift is focus. I do it for mental reasons, and I'm doing it now for longevity reasons. I've got a brand new baby. Even though I'm young, definitely young, 33, you start thinking of these things. Do you know what I mean? I'm setting myself up for making sure when I'm in my 40s, 50s, 60s, I'm still fit and I'm still, able to do the things I'm doing now. So there's the golf performance side and there's the longevity lifestyle side of things, which I think we really have done a great job on the club side, because now we're bringing something that people are passionate about, their hobby, and we're relating it to something that they need when it comes to making good nutrition decisions, good training decisions, and creating a community where we're all trying to achieve the same thing, really. So there's a massive need both sides. Do you know what I mean? I see this side of, of fitness for golf and so on really growing.
That's good. Your daughter's nearly 1. Have you got her signed up on the app yet?
Not yet. She's probably sick to death the amount I talk about Dr. Golf. She's like, Dad, not again anymore. But when she's ready, she'll be signed up.
Yeah, I bet. To sign off, I guess all golfers, all humans, in some way try and look after themselves. They'll eat healthy. They'll go for a walk. They might go to the gym, yoga, and play golf, right? Why should they come to you rather than just go to the gym with their own strength and conditioning coach, or do yoga with Mrs. Jones down the road, or go for a walk with a husband rather than, I don't know, watch a fitness thing on one of your apps. What's the sort of big advantage, golf specific? Why?
Yeah, no, good, very, very good question. And I suppose just and a lot of people throw these types of terms around, but something we really pride ourselves on is being evidence based. I've gone to the nth degree in terms of the academic side, completed a PhD in strength and conditioning. Our youth instructor has also done the same. Our yoga and mobility side of things is, and I don't like this term, we're expert in a respected discipline. So I suppose the quality of the information we deliver, I believe, is one of the best on a single platform in the world. I think that's a start point. I think secondly, we really understand golfers and their wants and needs, because you can write the best training plan in the world, but like you said, if you don't understand humans and what makes them tick, do you mean what motivates them, what holds them accountable, then you can have the best training program in the world, but it'll sit on the shelf. We've got a really, really robust internal communication system that really drives motivation, which is based on evidence. In fact, we've worked with psychologists to help us work on that journey. So we got that, we think, really good strategies on holding people accountable and motivating them. So that's something we really specialize in what we do. We've got a really strong team internally. So if you dropped us a message, you'll get an answer within 24 hours. Dare I say, your face-to-face trainer doesn't have that ability to do that. That's one thing we really pride ourselves. You can send us videos, you can ask us questions. We drop, lots of educational content inside our application. And the fourth thing that, goes out mentioning is our community. We've got over 6,000 people using the application. When I say people, golfers, anything from golfers in Australia, US, UAE, in the UK, all on the same journey. They want to improve their golf. They want to play better. They want to play longer, and they're all sharing and driving each other on. So there's lots of strong whys in terms of coming to work with the team at Dr. Golf, and ultimately making you or helping you to enjoy the game again.
Superb. Zach, I'm extremely proud to sort of know you and be a friend of yours, and proud of what you've achieved. And I'm really sort of looking forward to hearing the next 3-4 years and 30-40 years. It's going to be exciting to see how you keep evolving and helping the sort of golfing world enjoy their golf some more. Can you just share, just signing off, where is it, Dr. Golf Global? Where do we find you on all platforms?
Yeah, so I suppose we're really excited. We've been working on our rebrand and our website pretty much the last 6 months, to be honest, but it's just gone live. So you can find us at www.drgolfglobal.com. And I say doctor is spelled DR, not the full written word, just to make it clear. And any of our social media channels, we got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and is there any more? Everything is drgolfglobal.com at Dr. Global. So that's where you can find us. You can go onto our website, complete our form, get free 14-day access. You can drop us messages on any of our social channels, and get involved in the golf community.
Brilliant. Zach, you're too old to be on TikTok, but apart from that, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really, thank you very much for your time, and all the best for a great 2022.
Thank you.
Cheers, Zach.